dad's coat at a show. The sound man found it, don't you know? It took a while for me to get it back, but we stayed in touch and made each other laugh. And then we found a date that fit to meet up. We recorded it in a hotel. That's how the Blue Coat Diaries started. La 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 la. Welcome to the Blue Coat Diaries podcast. What episode number is this?
Yes.
Welcome to the latest one.
Hang on. I know this. Well, look, full disclosure, we've done a little bit of slight recording out of sync, haven't we?
We did a brilliant pod yesterday with Kezia Gill that's going to come out next week, but we had to fit in with her schedule because she's a mover and a shaker. So we were very happy to do it on a different day. So yeah, yesterday we did one that's going out
next week.
Yeah.
And this one's going out this week.
This one goes out this week. So this is the new
this
episode.
This is number yes.
Number yes.
I genuinely can't tell without bringing up the... Do you want me to tell you?
I'm just going to go on Spotify and see what the last one was. Hey, this is great content.
Yeah, this is we're nailing this. We're knocking this out of the park.
Last week was number 5. So this is number 6.
This will be... Yeah, this is number 6, and we recorded number 7 yesterday.
Yeah. So this
we're going to be
podcast 6.
Is it me or you or both of us that are in a field next week?
Next week I'll be in Dorset on holiday, so kind of in a field.
Right, yeah.
You'll be working hard at another festival.
I'm a children's festival next week, mate.
Yeah.
It's all like children's characters.
Yeah. Well, that brings me nicely onto the first item on today's agenda, which is to talk about where I've been gigging. And I'll tell you right now, I went and did a jumping Year 6 leavers party last week.
Was it an absolute banger?
It was really good. Remember, I was messaging you from there, wasn't I?
I was. It took me a while to figure out that was the one you were at.
Yeah.
And it started to make more sense, like when the context drops that it was a school leavers party. And when I say school leavers party,
it was really
not
fun.
18-year-olds, is it?
But they're obviously super excited. And there was a bit where they were playing bingo before I did my bit. And I said to you, these kids are great. They just got told off for getting a bit out of control at the bingo.
Start as you mean to go on.
I thought they'll be all right with my set. And they were really super. But one thing that I wanted to tell you that happened was there was a moment where I got someone's dad to come up and do this like dancing bit with me. And he was really funny and really up for it and lovely guy. But I felt so bad.
Did you?
Because, he had sunglasses.
Put him through it?
No, not that at all. Don't care about that. He had sunglasses on his head and they fell off when he started dancing. And he was doing a really good job. And then he basically did like, you know, like when people like crush grapes to make wine in certain countries. It was kind of like that. Like he didn't know he was doing it, but he had a real good stamp.
He was repeatedly stamping on his own sunglasses.
Yeah, and they were really smashed to bits. And I just couldn't not acknowledge it because it happened. So I had to sort of say,
I don't know how to tell you this.
Sunglasses are broken down there, look. And he sort of played it, cool and went, never mind, whatever. But they look like quite expensive sunglasses to me. So hopefully I'm not going to get a bill.
Maybe he's rich. Maybe he can just. Maybe he's just got like, he's got like a jacket and he just pulls open. There's like 20 Ray-Bans just there.
And watches.
Maybe he works on a beach in Benidorm. He's got like a little toolbox full of them. He's cruising.
Could have been, but. Anyway, whoever you are out there, because I've forgotten your name, might have been Chris. Anyway, you were brilliant. You were a great sport, and thank you very much for coming up and doing that. And also, I don't know if you remember me telling you, but I went and did this. I was talking about last week. I went and did a small corporate that was Western themed.
Yeah. Did you manage to upset anyone? Because that's usually what happens when I go to themed corporate.
No, I didn't upset anyone, but it was really lovely. And the reason I'm telling you that, like saying that as in like a slight surprise, is because often at a corporate, as you know, the aim seems to be how drunk can we all get and how idiotic can we all become, right? You would agree with that, right? Yeah,
there's a bit of that.
Often, especially when you've got a comedian on. And these guys were just so nice. They were a company called Ketchup Marketing in Melton Mowbray.
It's an oddly specific niche they've gone into there. Big clients include Heinz. Just no one else, really.
I see what you've done, but they do actually represent other people, as you'll see if you go on their fine website.
Other condiments are available.
Yeah, other condiments are available. Their big rivals are Mustard Marketing, which, to be fair, has got a better ring to it.
Mustard Ink.
Mustard Ink. But no, it was really fun because I got there and they were just doing fun things. They were like people were playing Hook a Duck, and there was a giant Jenga.
Because it's 1956.
Well, it was all Western themed.
Of course, Western themed. Yeah,
they had a shooting gallery with tin cans.
It was 1856.
Yeah, like you can imagine the kind of stuff you could put together if you really, went for it.
Yeah,
and the main thing was the mood was just like really fun, like people having fun. I thought, this lacks a lot of the times from corporates. A lot of times people just stood around.
Yes, it does.
It's loud music on. Loads of people don't want to be there. Loads of people are just being really obnoxious and really drunk and awful. And it wasn't like that at all. It was really, really lovely. And then when I did my set, they even let me have a cowboy hat to wear. So I felt very like there's a friend of mine called Christian Steele. No, I've got that wrong. Can you cut that bit out?
Possibly.
It's another comedian, that is. I meant Christian Riley, who is my friend. Christian Riley is the comedian that wears a cowboy hat on stage, like generally. So I felt it was funny because I was playing my guitar and I was doing my set, and I thought, if any pictures of this surface, it would look like I've started to copy Christian Riley and wear a cowboy hat. But it did feel pretty cool wearing a cowboy hat, and I did like it.
Yeah.
I liked it. So you never know.
Get Woody vibes.
Yeah, Woody vibes.
Which is a phrase you need to be careful with.
Yeah. How about you? Where did you go?
Where did I go? Last week. Hang on, I've got to go through my mind palace of time travel. Yes, I was at the Rock and Blues in Pentridge with it's a festival run by the Outlaws Motorcycle Club, and it's lots of rock and blues, as you imagine, and they went mental for a bit of ska as well. We had a ska band that came on last minute called Badness. Yeah. This is the pun. They were great. We had there's a few tributes here and there, but mostly it was original music. We had Dare, who I believe was fronted by, I think it's the chap who used to play keys in Thin Lizzy, I want to say.
Okay.
They were lovely. There were some younger bands. There were bands that had been there, done everything. And I mixed nearly all of it. There was a lovely tour engineer who came round. Dave, he did 2 bands. And then another Dave, who's a big Dave. He did another band. But apart from those 3 bands, I mixed a lot of it. So It was foot to the floor, lots of fun. I was in a glass cage of emotion. I sent you a picture. Did you see that? I was in a cage. Like, it was the reverse of, do you remember the Blues Brothers where they go and play at Bob's Country Bunker and they've got the chicken wire in front of the stage?
Yeah.
Well, it's like that, except I had Harris fencing all the way around the mix position, and it couldn't fit, so it sort of had a prow. So I was like in a cage, battleship shaped cage in the middle of
I saw the picture. Did you stay there?
Yes, mate. Yeah.
You camped?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you can call that camping. On the last night. Well, no. Was it on the last night? It was on the Friday night. Me and the crew had a couple of beers with some of the regulars who've been doing that festival for a long time.
Yeah.
And we went back to the tents. And I just heard laughing as I was arriving at this tiny patch of knot mud that we'd managed to find on the side of a telehandler track that we'd camped on. And apparently my tent was just flying into the sky, held down by like a single guy rope.
How did that happen then?
Well, I don't know. Well, so all the pegs were out, and Alan and Tyler managed to grab it and pull it back down. I'm like, what's going on? It's like completely diagonal. So the only thing I can imagine happened is somebody went to pack up their tent. Now, I don't know if this is the last night or the second last night, but somebody went to pack up their tent, got halfway through packing up their tent, clearly pissed, and went, this isn't my tent.
This isn't my tent.
And then attempted to put it back how it was, and it wasn't how it was. So it was just falling apart, this tent. And it was too late. There was no fixing it at that point, so I just kind of crawled into this decrepit tent. So tenting's rubbish.
Reminded me of a brilliant camping story that once happened to me and Harold, where we went to this really small little campsite once, and it was really nice. And I think we'd been made a bit of food and chilled out, and there was a few people knocking about and all that, and it was all very really low key and really basic and lovely and everything. And it was fairly late and it got dark, and we were basically going to bed. I think we got into our sleeping bags and we were kind of done for the day. And then we heard this car arrive on the site, and I thought, that's quite late to be getting here. It's pitch black. And then this car drove and got closer, and then it basically stopped right next to where we were. And I thought, oh God, what's this going to be? And then I heard this couple get out, and within a few moments we kind of realised that the guy was really pissed and the woman was really angry at him for being really pissed. And as they kind of bickered and started getting, you could hear him getting tent poles out and all the rest of it. You could tell that she was in a real mood with the guy, and then it kind of came out that he had supposed to have gone to the pub after work for a drink or something, and they were supposed to come camping. Basically, she'd had to go and get him from the pub at 10:30 or something, and then they'd packed and all that. So it was like a disaster for them, right? So I was thinking, they're never going to do this. Yeah, this is never going to work out because it's pitch black. How are you going to? It's hard enough putting a tent up anyway without doing it, in the dark. Anyway, they had a bit more of a row, and you could hear them getting more things out and all the rest of it. And then after a while, and I was thinking, I'm going to have to camp next to these people for the whole weekend. It's going to be a nightmare. After a while, we heard all these car doors being slammed again, the engine being really revved, and then the car driving as if it was going. And I thought, maybe they're going. Maybe they've decided against it or something. Then it stopped. Then you heard more car doors, more shouting, and then they had a real ding dong, a proper. And I couldn't see any of this because we were just hiding in our tent. But they had a proper.
When you can't tell how far away things are either. It's weird, isn't it? Yeah.
But what I did hear as part of this slanging match, this proper ding dong, was him saying, "Well, I tell you this, I'm keeping the fucking meat." That's what he said, right? To which obviously you're thinking, I don't even know where to start with that. There's a lot to think about there.
There's lots to unpack.
Yeah, she was screaming at him. There was shouting about meat. There was car doors being slammed again, and then there was a real proper and the car went burning off the site, and then complete silence. Back to how the campsite had been before. A little owl somewhere in a barn going lovely crickets chirping or whatever. And I thought, I think they've gone. I think they've totally gone. I'm so happy, right? I thought, brilliant, they've gone. And I think my wife was because I'd gone on for a while, I think she said, I think I'm just going to go for one last wee. Just going to go to the toilet, do you want to come with me? And I was like, yeah, I'll come with you, yeah. So we got the torch, we zipped out, just it, got out. And we're walking across this campsite and holding the torch. And all of a sudden, I noticed ahead of us, there's something on the floor, right? I think, what's this that's on the floor? I didn't see this earlier. Seems to be some debris. What's going on? So we got a bit closer. We've got the torch, and you know what's on the ground? Sausages, pork chops, fillets, meat. And you know what's happened, don't you? They've had an absolute barney, and they've been slinging it at each other, I think, as part of the row, throwing the meat at each other, because it's basically all over the floor. It's all brand new, you could tell, nothing had been cooked or anything like that. And they've had a big barney and gone, and we were just pissing ourselves. We thought it was the funniest thing. I wish I had peeked out and seen them
slapping each other,
hitting each other with lamb chops and things and all the rest of it.
Wow.
So there you go. That's a true camping story. And the campsite was actually lovely, but that was just a moment that happened on the first night, and after that it was all good. But yeah,
I've got another camping story. We were talking about the boy Aaron who plays in These Wicked Rivers, who was on at the weekend. He used to come and help me do a stage at Why Not Festival, and he also played there, and loads of us used to go up and camp and stuff. And I remember just him coming back and the zip on his tent getting stuck. So he couldn't open it and he couldn't close it. It was like the fabric had got trapped in it. Yeah. And he's he's arseholed, basically.
Yeah.
And there's about 20 of us all sat around in camp chairs. We've been having the kind of post-gig thing. It's probably 2 a.m. And someone tried to film this, but that was, a decade ago. Camera phones weren't that great. It was pitch black.
Yeah.
But so the footage wasn't great. However, this is basically how it went down. Aaron, and he's quite a big lad. He's about 6 foot tall, gangly thing. And so we've got, it's just like a slither of an opening, about a foot long.
Did he try and get in?
So we just sort of egged him on. I said, I can't remember. I just egged him on and said, look, I bet you just take a run up. And he did. And we thought, we're all stood there. There's 20 people waiting for him to collide with the tent, completely flatten it, and all us to laugh at him. Now, what happened was even better. Aaron takes a run up after, quite the build up. He takes a run up and he dives and he just teleports into a different dimension through this tiny 1 foot long slit of doorway. He just went, whoop. It was like he was in. It was like his birth in reverse. He just went straight through and he was just gone. And the cheer was unreal. It was just 30 people just, and we look back at the footage. This was a long time ago now. We look back at the footage and it just wasn't, you couldn't really see anything.
No.
But anyone who was there, we knew.
I think that's one of those that's almost better just to have as a memory there.
Yeah, it was so good.
I love picturing that in my brain. But could he get back out? That's the thing, because there's no run up in a tent.
I think I don't remember the following morning, but I'm
maybe
assuming
he was able to.
He did eventually get
inside.
out. I know that much. Yeah.
He's not still there.
No, he's not still. He hasn't just cut arms in it and legs. He walks around like Whizbit or something.
Oh man! You know what I like about this pod? The different types of event that me and you both do. Obviously you're on the sound. Or mixing or putting PAs in or whatever you want to call it, audio engineering.
I might have been playing that, good that long ago.
Yeah, and me performing, but it's the range of things. So like to go from the Outlaws biker gathering to the next thing, which is me at Hull Pride doing an all ages show, thanks to a lovely act called Jeddy Bear and Gary that they invited me down to do a set there at Hull Pride, and it was really fun. It was in the city centre, right in the middle. They had a marquee up, and it was packed with people, kids and adults and all the rest of it. Everyone was there celebrating Hull Pride, and we had a really good time with that. It was really fun. So I just wanted to point out how different our shows can be, show to show.
Diversity.
We don't just do the same. Yeah, we don't just do the same old thing, do we? We really do mix it up.
I've got one more story from the Rock and Blues Fest we just did. So we built it on the Wednesday. So when I arrived, we got a relatively small crew because it's events everywhere at the moment. And we had some, what we call local crew, who are people that you hire from a crewing company, and you might get a 4-hour call or 6-hour call. And they're usually some burly lads with calf muscles like rugby balls who can get stuff moved quick. And so the company I was working for also putting in the stage. Now, anyone who's been to Rock and Blues will understand this. Anyone who hasn't will not understand the fact. So it's in a giant marquee on a hill, and the whole site is on the fucking piss. So the stage is like that. So the legs on one side of the stage are 8 foot tall, and on the other side of the stage they're about 3 foot tall.
Okay.
So you have to try and get this, and it's a big stage. To get it level, it's a mission. So we did all this, and eventually we got all of the production in on that Wednesday, and I think I left sort of 11, 12 o'clock. This isn't no bands this day, to try and get it all in so that the following day we could just concentrate on, doing the last bits and get the bands in. So we'd done all that. But on that Wednesday, on the way to site, I'd nipped to Morrison's. I thought, I'll buy some beers. So, some little cans of, ale. I had some nice sort of, the fruity ones and the nice neck oil and Beavertown stuff. Some nice drinks. And when I arrived, and I bought that, and I realised my toothbrush is on one of these big electric jobs, and it doesn't travel well. So I thought, look, I've forgotten about that. What I'm going to do is going to be fingers, and I'll buy some mouthwash. So I bought the mouthwash, bought the beer, looked around Morrison's, looked at the top, that's it. I'm just going to stick this in the car and go. Got to site, and the company owner for the production company I was working for, Jason, he brought this chiller, it's like a cool box, but it's got a plug on it. You can plug it in. So once we built everything, I thought we'll move that. We'll hide it under the ramp that band's wheel gear up on to get on stage. We'll hide it under the ramp because I'm not leaving all the beers over there on the other side because the bands will walk past and go, ooh, beer there, and that'll be it. They'll be gone. So we hid it under this ramp and put the beers in it and we plugged it in. And but when I put the beers in, I was like, I just put the bags in. I was like, bottle of mouthwash. I'll just throw that in there. So cut to 2-3 days later, after the show, the show is compared by a living legend of a man, the Doctor from Doctor and the Medics, Clive. And I'm not seen him for 2 years because I didn't do last year. I was on a different show. And me and Clive put the world to rights, went to bed in daylight. And I love the man. He's brilliant. So I got up the next day and I was feeling somewhat worse for wear. I'm not going to lie. So I went through it and I just had a brain light went on my brain. I went, mouthwash. I need to brush my teeth. I need to sort this out. Now, anyone who wants to try this, thank me later. Ice cold mouthwash when you're feeling a bit rough is an absolute revelation. Like, okay, and then the stage manager Rory, who was up late with the nice words. Rory had some. Alan on monitors had some. We all had some ice cold mouthwash, and you could have made viral videos out of people's reactions. Nobody could, but none of us could believe how good it was. And why haven't people been keeping their mouthwash in the fridge? It's phenomenal, Johnny. Try it out.
Well, we could start it right here.
I haven't got any mouthwash left. I left it on site like an idiot.
Do it the second, but I think we can start the trend. I thought you were going to say, because it was in the drinks thing, and it was like a few days into the festival. I thought you were going to say you came back and someone just had it. Yeah. Like, no. Oh, you know what? It's not great. This, but it's going to have a kick.
Next week. Next time we're next recording, let's both do a shot of ice cold mouthwash and record the.
I've got sensitive teeth, so I reckon that would. I don't think I'd be loving it as much as you. I think I'd be going like, whoa! I can't bite an ice lolly.
No, it's not that. It wasn't that cold. I mean, obviously, it wasn't like in the freezer. It was like, in a moderate, a chiller. It keeps things cold. But it was, I'd give it a 6 or 7 degrees, I guess. It was very good. Okay, well, very good.
Like, let's get the listeners to experiment and let us know what they think. That's what we want.
Let me know what you think.
Has Mark discovered the thing he thinks he discovered?
Mate.
Yeah?
It's like, when you eat something really incredibly spicy, that it releases endorphins. There was an endorphin rush. It was somewhere between Carolina Reaper and cheap cocaine. It was great.
I did have something spicy.
Allegedly.
This week. I went to a wedding on Monday. My friends Claire and Rich. Great fun. Had a really good time. They had a curry for their meal.
Yes.
That was the meal at the wedding. A curry.
Right.
And there was all different ones. And like when you think, I'll just try a bit of each or whatever.
Yeah.
And there was a jalfrezi. It just looked so nice. I thought, I'm going to have a big bit of that. Yeah. And it was a real hot one. Ooh, and when you're in a suit, you've got a tie on and like all the rest of it. And you have a curry and you think, it's a bit like that bit in Anchorman when he goes, milk was a bad choice.
Milk was a bad choice.
I was like, having the hot one was a bad choice. But I could have done with your mouthwash, actually. That would have been the moment
The antidote. Yeah. It was, give it a whirl, man. Oh, I love
the
a
other
bit
gig
of
I did,
food.
which was really lovely and pretty wild. Again, change of pace from the others was... I played the Comedy Store in Manchester, but they're doing it now in a venue called Beer Keller. You must have been to a Beer Keller at some point.
I'm familiar, yeah.
Yeah, bratwursts and la-da-da. And it's in a place in Manchester called the Printworks. You ever been there? That's like a giant old building that would have been a Printworks, and now it's all used to. It was really fun. It was sold out, which means that online someone was probably saying they had 4 tickets for it.
4 tickets,
imagine.
mate. Yeah.
Flashback there to callback there to one of our other pods. And really good sports. And a guy called Greg came up on stage at the end, did a really good performance with me. And let me tell you this, if you can do the splits or almost do the splits and you're wearing a pair of skinny jeans, then you know that you have tried your best in an audience participation bit. Come on.
Yeah, you've knocked out.
It takes a brave man to attempt that, doesn't it? To try and do the full splits in front of a sold out audience in skinny jeans.
I mean, I can't even wear skinny jeans, never mind do the splits. So I'll tell you that ahead of time.
Well done, Greg. That's what I want to say. Well done, Greg.
Go on, Greg.
Any other news from your end?
No, I've done very little apart from work and childcare, and there was a lot of work. I was out of the house for nearly 5 days, 4 days, and then direct to toddler. Are they toddlers at 4? I don't even know. They're not. They're just mental humans at that point, aren't they?
What would you call them at 4? Kids.
Ewoks. They're just bald Ewoks.
Oh, yeah, Ewoks. Also, one thing you did do, which people will be able to hear next week, is you took the dust sheet off, plugged him in.
I did, yeah.
Turned a few handles, pressed a few buttons, and fired up the one and only WD-41 yesterday.
I did, yeah.
He did all right as well, didn't he?
He was all right, yeah. He was on good form.
If you don't know what we're talking about, WD-41 is the droid that Mark built that can ask questions to our guests. So when we did the Kezia Gill interview yesterday, for the first time this season, WD-41 came out of his box, and he was good. He asked good stuff.
He did. He come up with some bangers, yeah.
Total fluke, wasn't it? Yeah,
I mean, look, let's big up our humble king WD-41, and just let him have his moment. He came up with some good questions there. He came up with a couple of weird ones that I didn't even understand, but we just went with it.
He went off piste as usual. One thing I was cringing about today when I was thinking about yesterday's recording is when I tried to sing the jingle just off the cuff on the show, and my voice is so screwed at the moment. All the shows I've been doing in like late nights and all sorts of things and everything, and all my top range is totally gone, so all messed up. And I tried to sing a really big high vocal that I did when I must have been in good voice, which is on the jingle, but I tried to sing it to you and Kezia. Your face was great when I did it. Like you just literally winced in pain. Like, whoa, that's not good. That does not sound good.
Don't worry, Johnny. I definitely won't bring that to the fore in the mix, and add maybe a little bit of reverb.
Yeah, leave it in. I'm happy for people to hear it. Actually,
the same thing happens to me, dude. Like shouting at bands over and over gigs, and like the mid-range of my voice. You can probably hear it now. This is it. I've got like a little bit of top end, loads of low end. There's nothing in the middle. It's all gone, and that's just permanent for me now, I think.
Mine's really weird. I was talking to Kezia about it, and I said to her, obviously not on the pod, but I was saying to her, you need to help me out because my voice is like fine on all the low stuff, and all the really high stuff is still there, but there's a gap.
I've got the gap.
And I don't know exactly what those notes are until I'm doing a song on stage, and I go, yeah, there's one of them.
Yeah, I'm like, la, 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 la.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It's some of that,
It's really strange. It's like a middle bit, and I think I know I need to warm up better. And anyway, let's have some correspondence.
Okay, right. Let's do it.
London, Tokyo, and Penzance, we want your correspondence.
Oh, yeah.
That does not hold back that jingle, does it?
Yes, it's full force. It's just
every time it comes in, it scares me, even though I asked for it. Last week we were talking about complaints and funny complaints.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for sending these in. Just to be totally crystal clear, when we ask you for anything, always come in via the socials, Johnny Awesome socials, or the BCD Pod socials, and then we'll definitely get hold of it. John Shaw did just that.
How else have they been sending them in?
I don't want any more pigeons. That's what I'm saying.
Carrier pigeons, smoke signals.
I've got too many pigeons in this house.
It's just people down the street with flags doing semaphore. What do you mean?
I just wanted to let people know they can do it via either of those things, I mean, let's be honest, most people reply. I normally put a thing out post-pod saying, we've been chatting about this, tell me about this. And then most people reply to that. That is where most of the stuff comes from. But anyway, John Shaw said he gets a lot of people telling him to change the Blue Moon beer because it's cloudy. But he said, it is a cloudy wheat beer.
Yeah, that's the point of that. Yeah. The Blue Moon, the Hohe Garden. In Holland, they serve stuff like that with like a slice of orange in it. It's very nice.
Oh, that does sound good.
It's very
nice. I
nice,
like the sound of that. What about this one? I mean, I think I've heard this before, but I think maybe it was like
Vitavir.
Something happened with a legal thing with it. But Claire Safari said that her mum once said to me, she basically complained that the ice cream was too cold. But I feel like I heard something about that where like someone did a complaint and got something back for that, or something that was in the paper. I don't think it's that one, but I think it's the same idea that ice cream could be too cold.
I mean, I think
she's not going to be a fan of your mouthwash.
Mate, that wasn't too cold. That was just right, I'm telling you. I mean, if it was sold as soft scoop and it was just like, you know, you could ice skate on it, then you've kind of got a thing there, but it's hard to complain. It's like when you see TripAdvisor and like there's this quite as famous one about Snowdon where they said that it was too steep and the paths were quite stony and it was like cold and wet when they got to the top, and it just gave it 1 star. I'm like,
TripAdvisor. Oh my god.
It's a bit like that, isn't it?
About flipping, I don't know. Swimming in the sea. It was a bit wet.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
a few too
Very
many
salty.
Fish.
Yeah.
Too many fish knocking about.
Exactly. Didn't look like the picture.
Paul Garrett's hit on a good one here. We had a couple like this, similar theme. Paul Garrett said, working on a customer service desk at Tesco. I mean, come on. That's the perfect place to be to come up with one of these.
Yeah.
He said he was listening to a woman rant for 10 minutes about the poor quality of the tights she was returning. My colleague suggested very deadpan that she took them back to Sainsbury's where she'd bought them. Well done, Paul. That's very good.
Yeah, nice.
I like that a lot. And this one's just bananas. You see if you can explain to me what was even going on this one. Kelly Marie Clark is a big fan of the show. She said, when I worked at Clark's Shoes, a lady screamed in my face for 10 minutes because she wanted a refund on an uncomfortable pair of boots, but she wanted to continue to wear them for the rest of the day as she had nothing else to wear. So she wanted a refund and to keep the boots. And she thought I was the maniac.
Yeah, that's psychotic. I mean, it blows my mind on a daily basis that people can't just do the social maths in their head of what is normal and what is normal. Because that woman's obviously got herself to a point where she's that angry about it that she's willing to make a scene in a public place. But I think, who doesn't sit back and think, yeah, that doesn't work? What do you mean? I want the money back for these, but I want to keep them and wear them. She's getting money back. She could have got something else and put those on. She's not even. Yeah. You know.
Do you think it's a terrible scam that hasn't been thought through, or it was just literally
I've got
not a scam, but
I've got
not
4 boots,
through.
and I want to. I don't know. Some people have this bizarre entitlement, and I think it's. They don't see the world from anybody else's perspective, or they're unable to, and it all revolves around them. So she's gone in there and thought, well, this is my story, this is my show, and it would be really convenient for me to have my way, and that's how it works out sometimes. If you work in bars, you work in anything with customer service, you meet these people, and it's wild. All in the past.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy.
It's come to light now, and it's a big thing on social media because there's like TikTok and Instagram, and people capture these moments, whereas they never were captured before. You know, there's cameras everywhere,
telling you about it.
And you can tell everybody in the world about it, like on your phone, just like that. So,
to finish, this is coming from Susan Murray, who's a comedian, and it's very good. It tops the last one in terms of bananas. She said there's a story about a call to the police where some bloke rings in to say that he's being followed by a cat.
Oh, I'm trying.
Don't know any details, but I kind of don't want to either. I just like imagining it. The call coming in, and what do you do with that as well if you're the police?
Yeah. I don't know.
I think someone was probably.
I struggled very hard there to not drop a line that might get us bothered by the YouTube algorithm, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, there's no excuse there, is he? Do you think he was a bit high, or just genuinely?
I think so. Yeah, I think probably under the influence of something to.
It begs the question, though.
Be that paranoid.
Can you arrest a cat?
Well, its hands would come straight out the cuffs.
Cuffs, yeah.
Hasn't really got hands either, has it?
No, not really.
A cat with hands would be a weird thing to look at, wouldn't it?
It'd give you pause for thought.
There we go.
There we go. That's a much cleaner pun than the one I was originally going to deliver.
Do you remember back in the day, there was a TV show called Robin of Sherwood? Do you remember that?
I remember several Robin Hood-based TV shows. Which one was it?
Thinking about had a sort of, I think he kind of looked like he could be in a band or something. He had long hair, dark hair, and it was English, and it was called Robin of Sherwood.
Was it kind of a kids type one that might be on at sort of 5 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon type thing?
I think. I mean, it was family, but it wasn't that Maid Marian one. If you're thinking of that one that used to be on BBC, not that one. Anyway. Me and my brother used to love it when we were growing up. And I haven't sort of thought about that or seen that for years. But the other day when I was just flicking through all the Sky channels, it was just on as a repeat.
Right.
And I started watching it and I was like, such a nostalgic flashback just to watch 10 minutes of this and see some of the characters and think, I remember Friar Tuck, that guy. And
was he a bit of a ninja in it, Friar Tuck? Was he a bit...
I don't think he was a ninja, but he was very portly. They'd gone for a proper portly guy.
Portly Tuck.
Anyway, I remembered when I was doing this, nostalgia flashback, watching 10 minutes thing. I just remembered this thing that made me laugh where they played a game on it once, right? And the game was that they had a blindfold on and then they had, I think, a big stick. So there's two of them. Both had blindfolds, both had sticks. And they basically were sort of fighting, but you couldn't see the other person. And it was in a field or something. Everyone was making a big circle and they're all cheering.
Like human pinatas?
Yeah, it was, exactly like that. And me and my brother thought that was the best thing ever. We recreated that game in our garden. The way we did it was we tied dressing gown belts around our eyes so we properly couldn't see. So we had a dressing gown belt running around. We had a swim bag. You know, we used to go swimming back in the day, you had a bag that was kind of like that waterproof type material.
And it was like a tie end, you pull it in.
And then it had the string. Yeah. We used to put a load of stuff in there. Yeah. We used to put a load of stuff in there, like a towel or whatever. So it was really packed. It was almost like a ball. Pull it really, really tight. That was your weapon. We didn't do it with sticks. But what we were doing was we were really swinging them around. So if you took one of those full to the head, especially because we were kids, you would know you'd been hit with the thing. And it was brilliant. We used to play it in the garden. And I thought that could be a good question for this week. Any games that you think you created, anything that you came up with, especially when you were young. Did you ever do anything like that? Did you ever make up a game?
I did exactly that game. I remember there was a couple... When I was younger, I used to go and stay... if my folks went on holiday or something, or my mum went on holiday, I used to go and stay with my auntie and uncle and my cousins. And... the two that are the closest age to me, there's a little lad, David, who's not very little anymore, just got married recently. But at the time, there was Kira and Claire, two cousins. I think we were the closest in age, me, Kira and Claire. And this is like those girls, there was no girls, boys situation here. They were brutal. They were absolutely brutal. There was no, we're going to play with dolls. None of that. Well, there was. We'll get to that in a minute. But we played the same game. We used to do stuff like deconstruct all of the sofas, build forts, floor is lava kind of stuff. But we did a thing where we made like a wrestling ring out of just all the sofa cushions that we could find on the property. And there was lots of, doing backflips off of sofas onto that. But then we played blindfolded pillow fight type thing.
Same thing.
All pillow fights in the dark, just completely dark with the lights off. And that's brutal, especially with a feather pillow. You take a feather pillow, full blast to the face in complete dark where you're not expecting
anything really to the face.
You can't blink. So you basically just take a feather pillow to the eyes.
In the
with your eyes completely open. And it's just like a flash of light and you can't see it. It's just totally brutal. So we did that. And then they had this doll, and it was like one of these baby dolls with the eyes, the creepy eyes that roll back and stuff like that. And they have this it's kind of got this soft head that, squishy. And we called this thing Gouache Eye.
Gouache Eye.
Because we used to stand on its head and we basically tortured it. we basically tortured this little doll, and I don't know what we were thinking. It's really dark and horrific when I look back at it, but we thought it was hilarious, finding new and interesting ways to run this doll over. It was very creepy looking, and we all looked at it and went, nobody likes this thing. So we'd create these in scenarios, you know, off the top turnbuckle, elbow drop onto the doll. So me, Kieran, and Claire, yeah, we really bullied that poor doll. So that was one game we played, and then as I got older, I kind of got into sort of amateur chemistry as a young boy, and we made things like cherry bombs.
Okay. How do you make a cherry bomb?
Probably going to get taken down. No, I mean, we initially, I said that the first amateur chemistry experiments did. Do you remember the cap guns? I think they're all banned now, but not. And you just get cap guns with the little rings with the little divots in it, and you put them in, and you get like 6 shots or whatever. And they were the newer ones. But way back in the way, you used to get like these little rolls, and it's a long string, like a strip of paper, like sellotape, but it was all paper. And had these little dots on it with tiny bit of gunpowder in each dot. Yep. So what we used to do, you know this, and you had that thing where you were probably flicking them with stones and stuff on the pavement. You know, we're of an age where we remember those caps.
They were red.
Yeah, they're red with darker red dots on them. Yep. And there'd be a bit at either end, where there wasn't any caps. So what you'd do is you'd fold them all the way along the length. So if you imagine folding a bit of tape, not so it's like back on itself, but down the middle.
Like a V.
Like a V, exactly.
Yeah.
All the way along. And that was sort of kind of crack open these. I think I can say this because I don't think you can legally buy those caps anymore. So we'd do that all the way along. So it'd kind of become a bit more rigid. And you'd fold it over and you'd wrap it around itself, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. So you get to the bit with no caps on it. And then you get sellotape, and you tight as you could. You do that. And then you'd hang it upside down somewhere and light it with the lighter that you nicked off your mum. And it would go bang. It was like a quite a powerful firecracker. And
so it's the whole lot of caps in one go.
Oh yeah, they
by
all
lighting the bottom of it.
But what would happen is invariably you'd have these stupid things like it wouldn't go off, it wouldn't burn through the sellotape or something. So you'd be stood there with a lighter like this, with your elbow on one ear, holding a lighter, bang. So I mean, they weren't dangerous. They could probably damage your hearing, but they weren't going to damage you. You know, you might lose some hair off your knuckles if one went off fire. But
I feel like we're moving into a slightly different question, which is like, did you come up with any dangerous things to do as kid? You know, which is fine. We can include those as well.
Yeah.
But like, but we'll shout out about it. We'll ask for made up stuff that you used to do.
I mean, that was a game to us, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
the blowing things up game.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, the game really was like, when somebody realised what was going off and people used to come arrest it, and running away from people was the true game. Because tag or chase wasn't exciting enough. Somebody genuinely angry at something that you definitely weren't supposed to be doing and running away from that was the real spice. Yeah. So I think.
All right. Well, we'll put that out for this week, and then not next week because that'll be the Kezia episode. The following week, we'll read out what we get in. Yeah, for correspondence. Does that sound good?
Yeah, there's no way I can edit that into next week's.
Yeah, no, don't worry about that. This week, I am going to be at Silverstone Woodlands Festival tomorrow, actually. Thursday, the 3rd of August. That will have happened before this goes out. So when you're listening to this, I've done it. Maybe you were there. I don't know. What about you? Have you got any shows this weekend? Where are you heading next?
I do, mate. I've got the I Get to Sleep in My Own Bed show, which is because I live sort of close to Derby, and this particular festival is in Nottingham on the Riverside, and it is interestingly called Riverside Festival. And it is, I'm on the Monument stage doing sound, and it is a cavalcade of world music. So I've got everything from, everything from sort of squeeze boxes to Botswana nose flutes. It's going to be all over the shop.
You are going to be miking up all sorts of things.
Instruments that I have no idea how to EQ to produce. Now, I mean, I've done it long. I can look at a thing nowadays and go, they probably want it to sound like that. But you do get a few.
By the end,
no idea what that's going to sound like.
You'll be miking stuff up that's not even an instrument by the end. You'll be going, I've mic'd that one up for you, and the guy will be going, yeah, that's my lunchbox.
Yeah,
that's just
bucket of gravel's
the most sandwiches in it.
Bucket of gravel's the classic.
A what?
Bucket of gravel. Did
you actually have to do that?
Yeah, D112. There's a joke about it between me and some other engineers. I think it was Jay who mic'd up the bucket of gravel. But yeah, it was like part of the set was someone sticking a shovel into a bucket of gravel.
So they did want to do it. Wasn't a mistake by the sound person. Oh, wow.
Yeah, legit.
Did it sound any good?
It sounded like someone sticking a shovel into a bucket of gravel. Which was the desired effect.
Yeah, when I go and see a band, I always think, you know what this needs?
Well, it's kind of like an extreme shaker, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that is a shaker, isn't it? It's got bits in it.
It's gravel in a tin bucket.
I know I keep going on about this in all the recent pods, but it just reminded me of another great Happy Mondays story, which was that I heard Bez saying that the first time he played maracas on stage, it was just because they were doing a show. Bez was there and he was going to get up and dance with him, and there was just some maracas there that were nothing to do with him. He just basically started shaking them. That was it. I think people always thought he sort of played the maracas and that was his thing, and he brought that to the thing. But he just went, no, they were just there, and I just started shaking them.
Just leaned into it. Just leaned into it for the next like 30 years.
40 years of doing it, yeah. So I'll be at Silverstone Thursday. Then Friday I'm heading to Dorset. But we're all covered. We've got the Kezia pod going out. And WD41, you will hear him back in his glory on that as well. And I think that's kind of where we're at, isn't it? Unless I've forgotten anything. Oh, Marcus is away. He's in Sweden. He will be on the next live pod. So the one post.
We tried to get him today, but he's got his hands full. He's juggling open sandwiches and you know.
Yeah, and to be fair, I got all the times completely wrong, didn't I?
You got what? Sorry. You did.
I got the times completely wrong.
I sent you a very gentle reminder that sounds absolutely mental, mate.
Yeah, I basically read back what I put and thought, yeah, that's 2 hours.
That's 2
totally
hours after.
The wrong time. Yeah. And so I said to Marcus, actually, Marcus, we're not doing it that time. We can do it this time. And he was like, yeah. And then he came back and went, actually, no, I can't. So sorry about that. But he will be back. You know, like a bad penny, Marcus will keep turning up. That's what they say, isn't it?
Marcus Bad Penny Carter. I can't even my surname.
He's part of the furniture.
We do have very similar names, don't we?
Carver and Carter.
Yeah, and Mark and Marcus.
Yeah, it's like a 1990s detective drama on ITV or something. Carver and Carter.
Can you imagine?
And the running joke would be that they get mixed up.
Yeah, and nothing ever gets solved.
Yeah. So I think that's us. I think we're pretty good. It feels like a nice compact show today.
Yeah.
And yeah, do tune in next week because we did it yesterday. We know what we're talking about. The Kezia interview is very funny, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, Kezia's great. It was good to have a catch up.
We laughed. Yeah, and we got to play one of her songs out at the end on the show. So you get to hear that as well.
Go and check her out. She's brilliant.
Yeah, Kezia, so that'll be out next Friday. Following week, we'll be back as normal. I think that's us. I think we're good.
Pretty much. I mean, the only thing I've got left to say is if you could go and like us, join us on our socials, and go and subscribe and like the videos on the YouTube page. Even if you listen to it on Spotify, go and find us on YouTube. Click like and subscribe on that because we really need to get some traction in that. People are watching it. Plenty of people are watching the episodes. But like 1/5 of them actually are subscribed, so it'd be really good.
Yeah, well remembered, Mark. Please, if you've made it to the end of the podcast, well done. You've got to the very end.
If you made it this far, just one more thing. YouTube
and subscribe. Even if you do the audio version and you think, well, I probably won't watch it because I listen when I'm driving to work or whatever. That's fine, but just do it because it will help us out. It will help because it helps the algorithms.
It helps for the algorithms. I can't stress how insanely difficult it is to start a YouTube channel with 0 followers. It's like, how do you even do this? We're doing it anyway.
We're doing it.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Man.
But for now, it's goodbye from me, Johnny Awesome. And
It's goodbye from me, Mark Carver.
And here's everybody's favourite outro tune.
Not mine.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. I appreciate your time, I really need that. Join us again for the next episode. Might not be funny, but we'll give it a go. To hit the button and subscribe. We're just getting started, don't be shy. We'll be back soon with more to share. Join us for the ride if you dare. That's it for now, we'll see you soon for another episode coming to you. Thanks for tuning in, we really mean that. We'll be back next week, I think that's a wrap.